I was gonna talk a minute about gigs and how I got started. It's not the same for everyone. Of course, I'm doing a different type of music. It's different than being in a band, but this is just how I started. I didn't have anywhere to play, and this guy said he needed some Christmas music. So I thought, great, not just Christmas music, but just whatever else. And I said, I only have like a couple Christmas songs. Truth is, I only had like 15 tunes. This is when I first started. And so I said, I'll take the gig, and I think he was paying me like $75 or $100, something like that. So anyway, I took this gig and just did it for the money it was, and then pretty soon he wanted me to do a couple nights a month. And the whole thing was, I just wanted to start playing, and you gotta play somewhere just to get started, to play in front of people and just get better, because it's one thing playing at home, but it's another thing playing in front of anyone, even just a restaurant. And the one great thing about a restaurant is you can play there and people are talking to other people. They aren't necessarily so much paying attention to you, which is sometimes good, because if you suck, you suck. It's a way to get better. And so every time I went back to the restaurant, I made sure I had 2 more songs, because even if you only start out with 15, you figure each song is 3 to 4 minutes long. That's a good 45 minutes, maybe to an hour, before a new crowd of people come in. Not everybody stays there for an hour. Most of them are half an hour, 45 minutes, they're out. Or if it's like me, I'm there half an hour and I'm in and out, unless I really want to talk for a while. So it's a great place to start, and pretty soon I got a call for a restaurant that wanted me for, 5 nights a week it was, which was just great for me, and I had to learn a lot of songs. I mean, I think I had an hour's worth of material, an hour and a half, and now I have like 5 hours, I could play without stopping. But that took a long time to do. And I think that when you start, it's a great place to start. And what was so funny is then I started someone asked me to do a concert where it was just me. And man, I said, sure, I'll do it, no problem. Then I realized, my God, I got to talk to people. I have to talk to someone. And that scared me, because I wasn't very good at all at talking. And so that was another whole thing. Now all eyes are on you, and they're quiet, and they're not talking most of the time. This isn't maybe a bar setting, maybe it is, but it's more of a listening situation. And so I had to get better at talking to people, and that took a long time. I remember I was so nervous that a friend took me to this gig that he got for me, and I got through it. And then the guy lined up another gig for me at the same place, and I said, sure, I'll be there. And I was so nervous when I went back, because I knew I had to talk, that I broke a couple strings on purpose and said I didn't have any extras and the stores were all closed. And that guy, I think he knew I was full of crap, but he was nice enough even after that to let me come back. I was so nervous. And if you do quite a bit of it, as much as you can, you get better at it. You get better at talking. You're like in a concert, you're there for an hour and a half. I found out that when I'm playing and they want me to play for 2 hours, I mean, it depends on if you have a contract, but a lot of times if you're playing with someone else, like opening for them or they're opening for you, whatever, I'd rather play less than more. I'd rather leave them wanting more than wanting less. I've been to some concerts where it goes on, and no matter how good they are, sorry, unless you're Pat Metheny or someone like that, you just get tired. And I'd rather leave them wanting more, like I said, than less. And maybe that's not the way most of you would go, but my ego isn't to the point where I got to have someone listen to me. I went to one concert once that was 3.5 hours long of this guitarist, and he wasn't, he was okay. But I mean, 3.5 hours, half the crowd had left, and he was like oblivious to it. Like, everybody wants to hear me, and no, they don't. They do for a while, then they want to go home. I think one good attitude is you're special. Sure, you're playing music, people want to hear you, but at the same time, they have a life. And my attitude has always been, for example, if someone says thank you to me, I like the songs you played. I mean, just think about that. That's pretty unselfish for someone to come up to you and say they really enjoyed it. I really like this song and that song, and pat you on the back. I mean, that's very unselfish. So I always am very thankful when someone that does that to me, and someone thanks me for a performance or one song or whatever makes them feel good. That to me that's what makes it special. Because how many times with most people, they have a job, no matter what it is, and believe me, I've had lots of jobs, and how many times do you get a pat on the back for doing a great job by anyone? You don't. So that's why it's special to me when someone really says something. It should be special to any musician. It's really an important thing. So anyway, getting back to playing, a concert, so what you're doing is you're learning how to play your instrument. Then you get good enough to maybe where you can do concerts. Now you got to learn how to talk. You got to learn how to communicate with people. And there's things I used to tell, I didn't know what to say. I said some of the stupidest things, but now I have stories that I grew up with, stories on the road, stories, whatever, that you just come up with just because of life. And that's one thing about getting older, you have some stories. At least you have that. And there was one time, though, I'd like to bring this up. There was one time I had a gig. There's got to be some etiquette. Be very happy you're there. Be up. Which is not hard to do because, after all, you're playing guitar. You're having fun. You put whatever instrument you're playing. But I remember one time, this was a good lesson for me. I was playing in this one place, and it was a concert. And there was this guy that I was telling a story. And there was booze there. It's a nice place, but there was booze there. Listening room, and the guy said, "Quit talking, start playing more, play more." And and I get that he was drinking, plus the fact he wanted to hear movies. He wanted to hear music. He just didn't want to hear me jawn. But at the same time, that's part of the performance. That's how you draw people in, by sometimes talking, telling a little story, or you're just confiding in them some things of your life that makes you more human to people. Anyway, I looked at him and I had this, he just made me mad. So I just took my guitar off and I said, "Hey, you want to come up and play, see if you can do it?" And of course he didn't. And I said, "Yeah, I thought so." And I put back on my guitar. Bad move. It wasn't a good move. And a lot of people, I could just tell, it was really uptight moment, kind of ruined the moment. It ruined part of the concert because I could have just blown it off. I could have said, "Yeah, you're right, I need to maybe play more and just play more." And instead, I kind of had an argument with a guy harassing me. And I haven't had much of that. I've been really lucky with that. But that just taught me a lesson. People are there to hear you, to enjoy yourselves. They don't want to have conflict of any type. So I try to avoid that conflict. There's been a few times, like when I was in a band, that they throw things at you or something like that. So, and then they get into fights and you have to get in front of them, lock arms so they wouldn't ruin your instruments and come on stage. But those are rare. And even though those are good things to talk about later on, they're good memories, funny memories. But anyway, that's how I got started playing. And then it just evolves. And I remember one time I was hearing this thing with Tommy Emmanuel talking. If you've never heard of him, boy, find some stuff by him. He's like great guitarist. And one kid asked him, how do I get out of the bars? And he says, I don't know, but just figure out how to get out of the bars. Figure out how to get in the halls. Figure out somehow how to tour, because it's different for everyone. There's no, for sure, anything way of doing this. And I used to think, well, I'll get a, booking agent. But booking agents are great, but you remember, they take 10% usually of what you make. So the only way they can even make it sort of affordable, and it's not even that, if they can charge $1,000 for you, then they make $100. Now, I went to one guy and he was booking this guy and he was getting $10,000 a concert. Well, that's $1,000. So guess who he's going to push? He's going to push that guy, of course, because he can make a living, part of a living, But if he has 10 guys like that or 15 guys like that. So you just got to do it yourself, and it's not easy. It's never been easy for me. It's never been easy. Unless you're someone, like I said, like the Pat Metheny's, like the John McLaughlin's, and I'm talking strictly guitar here. But, it's just the way it is. It's not easy. But you take your time, and you have to wear all the hats, like booking, recording. You got to write the songs. It's not a walk in the park. And the more you work at it, the better it gets, and sometimes it gets worse. And then it gets better, and then it gets really good, and then it gets really bad. It's back and forth. That's just the nature of being any kind of an artist. I've talked to a lot of artists. Think of what it was like being a dancer, how tough that is. And that's some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever seen, like when you go to a ballet or if you see anything like that. It's just beautiful, but it's not easy for a lot of those people to make a living, or artists, any kind of artist. It's difficult. You got to work really hard at it, and that doesn't mean always you're going to have these big financial things happen for you and you're going to be rich and famous. But you got to remember why you're into this. This is fun. You love your life when you're playing music or doing art or dancing or whatever you're doing. It's just part of you enjoying and loving your life. So anyway, a few thoughts. Have a good day. And hey, if you get a chance, please subscribe. I could really use it. I really appreciate everybody who does. Thanks.